Hello, my strange onions. Welcome to the premiere episode of Almost Lost Media, the show where I will be reviewing some almost lost media. I'm your host, Landon Reed, and today I will be taking a look at Hi, Honey, I'm Home. Hi, Honey, I'm Home premiered in 1991 and originally aired on both ABC as a part of their TGIF lineup and on Nick at Night in a gimmick they called
television's first instant rerun. Through a unique patented process, Hi, Honey, I'm Home goes from network to Nick in less than a week.
The show is a satirical homage to classic 1950s sitcoms like Leave It to Beaver or The Honeymooners.
We're a nifty 50s family.
Brownie?
Crash lands in the cynical, stressed out 90s.
I work a full-time job, raise 2 kids, and go to night school 3 times a week.
Of course you do.
A high-concept show that was very much ahead of its time. In the universe of Hi, Honey, I'm Home, television characters are real, and when their shows go off the air, they're sent to live in the real world by the SRP.
The SRP?
The Sitcom Relocation Program. When shows are canceled, the characters are sent to live here until they can go back on the air again.
One of the best aspects of the show was the theme song.
At the end of my day.
Composed and performed by Rupert Holmes. You might know him better for singing the Pina Colada song. Let me just say, Rupert Holmes, you know how to write a catchy ditty that will be stuck in your head forever. I wish I could play you the song, but I don't want to get a copyright claim on this video, so I highly encourage you to go look it up yourself.
Oh, Lloyd, they're playing our song.
Our theme song.
For fans of classic television, myself included, the guest stars were truly something special.
May I cut in?
For many of these stars, it would be their final on-screen performance, making it a bittersweet swan song.
I'm Mr. Mooney.
A final bow to an era long gone but fondly remembered. As much as I loved these guest appearances, they often had me feeling kind of melancholy. It wasn't because I was sad to see the beloved actors older. It was because of the wasted potential of this show.
And he'll never forgive you for it.
Honey's wardrobe is another element of the show that charmed me. Each dress came with a matching apron, complete with corresponding oven mitts made from the same fabric. It was over the top, yes, but endearing in a campy way that was very much in keeping with the 1950s housewife aesthetic. Honey's outfits became a visual representation of the show's camp sensibilities, even though it couldn't quite decide if it wanted to embrace that style fully. The show's inconsistent tone left it in limbo. At times, it felt like it was leaning into the camp, self-aware humor, while at others it seemed to strive for a more serious or grounded approach. The back and forth made it difficult for the audience to know how to engage with the show fully. Should we be laughing at the absurdity or empathizing with the characters on a deeper level? The indecision around the tone was one of the reasons why the show never quite found its footing.
That doesn't help half as much as it used to.
In my opinion, the writers never seemed to understand what made the premise so special and how to really make it work. Shows like The Munsters or Leave It to Beaver
Ward, I'm worried about the beaver.
were created in an era of strict television censorship.
Oh, poo.
There were so many rules about what could and couldn't be shown, so writers had to get creative.
The rules? Twin beds, 4 feet apart.
I guess all the rules have changed, Lloyd.
I'll say. He just took both feet off the floor.
They had to figure out how to tell their stories without angering censors, networks, or sponsors. And most media that parodies the 1950s forgets that crucial element.
Honey, aren't you forgetting something?
Sadly, Hi, Honey, I'm Home is no exception. The characters in the Neelsen family do feel like they stepped right out of a 1950s sitcom, but not as the leads, as sidekicks.
Hi, honey, I'm home.
Hello, dear.
Take Lloyd Nielsen.
Oh, Lloyd.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, Dad.
The clueless patriarch, played by Stephen Bradbury. He feels like he belongs in a show like Mr. Ed.
Ed, he could always cheer me up. He had a great sense of humor. For a horse.
Not Father Knows Best.
Should I have married Jim Anderson?
And then there's the son Chucky,
This is our little Chucky.
Nice to meet you, little Chucky.
played by Danny Gore.
I'm a dweeb, a micro, a weenie.
Oh, come on now. You're a Nielsen. Everybody likes the Nielsens.
Then why are we off the air?
He would have been the perfect sidekick best friend to Beaver Cleaver.
So, what's the problem?
The kid next door says if I want to be popular, I've got to prove myself.
We've all been through that.
But he wants me to steal from the guy across the street.
So?
Babs is where things get confusing. Her personality is just popular and boobs.
And this is our lovely daughter, Babs.
Nice to meet you, boobs. Babs.
Sure, characters like this existed in 1950 sitcoms, but they were never the daughters of the perfect family. Wally Cleaver or Bud Anderson might have gone on a date with a girl like Babs, but the moral of the episode would have been how superficial and vapid she was.
I'm very popular, and not just because I'm beautiful. I'm beautiful on the inside, too.
To be clear, this is not a critique of Julie Benn's performance. She did great with what she was given.
All her talents in her sweater sets.
We're talking big talent.
They should have crafted a character more like Betty Anderson or Mary Stone.
Mary Stone, sometimes you can be such a goody-goody.
Imagine how interesting it would have been to see a character like that floundering in the 1990s, not understanding why her Mary Sue persona was no longer revered.
Jeepers! I feel like a woman now.
Did I ever tell you about the flashback episode when I took your mother out for the first time?
The only character who had any real depth or heart was the titular Honey Nielsen. Honey, played to perfection by Charlotte Booker, is the only character that felt completely original. She wasn't a copy of June Cleaver, Donna Stone, or even Lucille Ball.
Hello, Lucy. It's Honey. Listen, girl, I've got a problem only you could solve.
Which with the red hair and zany persona would have been a very easy trap to fall into.
Bimbo! I've got some big news for you, Missy. I've pulled this family out of scrapes for years, and I can do it again. Yes, I can. I may be zany, but I am not dumb.
Honey felt like a housewife played by Judy Holliday.
No, we're not, Brownie.
I'm sure I know you.
I'm sure you don't. Cookie? Oh, please, sit down. Sorry it's such a mess in here. We just moved in.
Charlotte Booker's performance was so good it made me even sadder to think of the squandered potential of this project.
Where'd you say you were from?
Springfield.
Illinois or Ohio?
Uh-huh. Coco?
In my opinion, it is truly a tragedy Charlotte Booker was not nominated for an Emmy for this performance. Hi, Honey, I'm Home came out before Pleasantville, the Brady Bunch movie, or WandaVision. As the original, it doesn't have the benefit of analyzing what works and what doesn't.
What am I going to do? I can't go out there this way. How can I go out there this way?
Hi, Honey, I'm Home isn't driven by the interpersonal relationships or loss of innocence like Pleasantville.
Sure, Jan.
It's not meta like the Brady Bunch movie or WandaVision.
My husband and his indestructible head.
In Hi, Honey, I'm Home, what you see is what you get.
We also got this book.
Modern Life, a user's manual. Come on.
Oh, Mike, I'm a 90s gal now, and I know all the jive lingo. Yo! Brownie?
One of the great pitfalls of Hi, Honey, I'm Home was the fact it was filmed as a sitcom. Now, I truly love the sitcom as a storytelling device, but I understand its limitations.
Oh, back in Springfield, my best friend became my best friend in less than 30 minutes.
Yeah, well, here in Jersey, it takes a little more time than that.
And having a show where you make jokes about how life doesn't resolve itself in 30 minutes or less when your show resolves itself in 30 minutes or less is a bit ironic, isn't it? In the 1960s, there was a boom of wildly outlandish sitcoms like The Munsters, Gilligan's Island, and Bewitched.
Samantha's okay, but her mother's awful, turning people into toads and things.
What propelled these shows forward was their keen observational and political satire that was presented in a way that would go over the heads of most viewers. Flash forward to the 1980s with Ronald Reagan's return to normalcy.
Do you mean to tell me that all canceled shows moved to New Jersey?
We're everywhere. My Mother the Car's in Cleveland. Hello, Larry's in Buffalo. One of us even got elected president.
A lot of emphasis was put on the nuclear family. As a result, television created outlandish family sitcoms like Small Wonder.
Honey, you've got to get used to programming a robot. You see, when you tell an android to do something, it takes you literally. Vicky, pour me some more coffee, will you, please?
Pour you coffee?
You see, honey, an android, unlike a human, doesn't understand reason.
Giving baby boomers a sweet hit of childhood nostalgia. The problem with these 1980s shows was that while they could do and say more, they lost the art of subtlety and subtext. With the exception of a few very special episodes where you were literally hit over the head with the point.
Would you look at that? I knew she was up to no good.
Most shows of that era had no real message. When compared to the television landscape at the time, Hi, Honey, I'm Home was light years ahead of the competition. But for the show to work, it needed to be an hour-long drama, or at least not filmed in front of a live studio audience.
Hi, Honey, I'm Home was taped before a live audience in Nickelodeon Studios at Universal Studios in Orlando, Florida.
The decision to film Hi, Honey, I'm Home in front of a live studio audience was, in my opinion, a very poor one. Likely made by Nickelodeon executives. If the Nielsen family were caricatures of 1950s television dialed up to 11, their neighbors, the Duff family, were the 1990s dialed up to a 40.
Is that you, Mom? No, it's June Cleaver.
You must be the wacky neighbor. Please come in.
Hi, we're the Duffs.
Elaine Duff, the single mother next door, is hands down my least favorite character. This pains me to say because, like Elaine, I am a feminist who cares deeply about the plight of the world.
Life is my problem. I bust my butt at work all day, then I go door to door trying to get this petition signed.
And starting tomorrow in this time slot, Joni loves Chachi.
Hey, they're taking off Hi, Honey, I'm Home. Why live?
Elaine Duff is an angry, selfish, narcissistic character who will literally go into a stranger's home and insult them after they've been nothing but kind to her.
Nobody was a more perfect wife than I was. I cooked, I cleaned, I took care of the kids,
and is constantly downright cruel to Honey after Honey bends over backwards to help Elaine day or night.
What? You call ironing underwear a career? No, I mean a real job, like mine. I get up every morning at 6, I fight traffic till 8, I punch a time clock at 9. Boo-hoo-hoo.
Look, Missy, I may wear an apron instead of a phone belt, but being a full-time housewife is a career too, and if you can't respect that, then you are no better than those men you're always complaining about.
Whoa! What are you saying? Did I treat you like a second-class citizen?
Exactly.
Oh boy. If there's one thing I don't need, it's some ditched-out Susie homemaker who has never worked a day in her life telling me that I don't respect my fellow
Does she have a moment of self-reflection?
So, I guess I better not ask you to pick Skunk up from the shrink tomorrow at 4, huh?
Of course not. She's Elaine Duff, and this is Hi, Honey, I'm Home, a show where all your problems are resolved in 30 minutes or less.
Nice to meet you, Mike, Elaine, and Sydney Skunk.
Sydney, aka Skunk Duff, is a bad boy preteen juvenile delinquent ripped straight from an after-school special.
Skunk is the crime in this neighborhood.
Like all of the characters in the show, I feel like they took his bad boy persona just a bit too far.
Well, if you put it that way, we're gonna rip off the Johnsons on Saturday. You could help out.
But Skunk never crossed the line for me in the same way Elaine does. Skunk has all the swagger and pompous arrogance of a 12-year-old boy who truly thinks he's the shit.
Chucky, that's why nobody likes you.
Could I think about it?
Let me know by tomorrow. Homework.
When in actuality, he's just a cringy little con man putting on as much of a facade as the posers he loves to make fun of. In that way, Eric Kushnick managed to elevate his character beyond what was on the written page, despite this show's tell, don't show approach to storytelling. Fun fact, AJ McLean of the Backstreet Boys fame originally played the role of Skunk in the unaired pilot.
Mom!
Don't call me that either.
While we're talking about the unaired pilot, there was also a different Elaine, played by Dee Hottie.
Hi, we're the Duffs. Elaine?
Despite the script of the unaired pilot and the first episode of Hi, Honey, I'm Home being identical, Dee managed to give the character of Elaine depth, nuance, and a real humanity.
Good luck.
You'll need it in this neighborhood. As a matter of fact, here's something else you'll need. Mace.
That was lacking from Suzanne Celia's performance, where her only character decision was tough guy.
You'll need it in this neighborhood. Here's something else you'll need. Mace.
Perfume! How thoughtful!
The last of the main characters is Mike Duff, professional teenage slacker and stand-in for the audience. Mike is obsessed with 1950s sitcoms, especially Hi, Honey, I'm Home.
Sitcoms are not real life.
Real life is overrated, Mom. Life on that TV set is so
Stupid.
happy. I've been studying these shows.
Yeah.
Pleasantville did a much better job of showing how shows like these can fill a void in certain people's lives, myself included. But Hi, Honey, I'm Home did come out 7 years before Pleasantville. Peter Hans Benson made some very bold acting choices as Mike. Every character in the show feels like they're in a sitcom. No one's performance is particularly grounded, but it was 1991 television.
Oh, poo!
I knew it! I'm not crazy, you are a TV show! Did you come for me?
Mike, however, takes this to another level. The way he speaks and moves feels almost theatrical, like he belongs in a play or a 1950s sitcom himself. His speaking voice reminded me greatly of the Tin Man in The Wizard of Oz.
It's wonderful. I've held that axe up for ages.
While I think the show should have been more grounded, especially when it comes to the Duff family.
What's the most exciting thing that happened to you today?
I had dinner with my favorite sitcom family.
Mike's obsessive love for 1950s sitcoms made it believable that he would emulate them even in everyday life. There are a few shining moments in Hi, Honey, I'm Home where the high concept truly breaks through and shines.
Oh, speaking of TV characters, I got a letter yesterday from Maxwell Smart.
You know him?
Oh, he and Lloyd go way back.
Among the 13 episodes, the pilot stands out as the best example of what the show could have been. Honey has a few lines that literally made me laugh out loud.
Things will work out. They always do on your show.
This isn't our show anymore!
But beyond the comedy, the pilot and the series as a whole touched on some issues that feel surprisingly relevant today.
While I'm here, I was wondering if I could get you to sign my petition supporting a woman's right to choose.
Choose what?
Her silver pattern.
What kind of world is this? Where people live on the streets? Where fathers leave their families? Where mothers don't cook from scratch? I want to go home!
Political turmoil, financial instability, and the push and pull of societal expectations were big issues in the 1990s.
You know, you're a little honored to be one of the big nine. You've got to have a spotless record and strong moral fiber. You've got to be beyond reproach.
Not anymore.
And they're just as poignant now. There tends to be a 30-year cycle in society. Each generation reacts to the one that came before it. It's why the 1920s and the 1970s, 2 decades separated by half a century, have more in common with each other than they do with the years around them. This back and forth between cultural shifts is still evident today. In our current moment, there's a new clash between feminism and the resurgence of traditional gender roles. Manifesting in trends like the trad wife movement, we see conservative factions pushing a return to traditional values, promoting a worldview that is largely nostalgic fiction. But this pushback has real-world consequences, threatening the rights of women, minorities, immigrants, and the LGBTQIA+ community. Hi, Honey, I'm Home attempts to explore the conflict.
You rather I was one of those mothers who ignores the world's problems and bakes brownies all day?
Yoo-hoo!
It lives.
Setting up clashes between the wholesome values of the 1950s and the more complex, cynical realities of the 1990s.
She's got the deciding vote tonight on whether to put condoms in the school washrooms.
I'm sure they'll add a decorative touch.
There are moments where it feels like it's skimming the surface of something important, like how societal expectations can create unrealistic pressures on women.
Today, but I gotta work. I hate to ask you this, but since you have the whole day free, would you mind waiting at my place?
Well, today is laundry day.
Couldn't you do it tomorrow? I had to kill to get this appointment.
My honey's got an appointment of her own with Mr. Washer and Mr. Clothesline. And when I open my top drawer tomorrow, I expect to see clean skivvies in rows, pressed and ready.
You iron his underwear.
Lloyd likes a sharp crease in his boxers.
Or how nostalgia can be both comforting and dangerous, but it never dives fully into these topics. It's as if the writers wanted to touch on these issues but were afraid of lingering long enough to make anyone uncomfortable. In the end, Hi Honey, I'm Home was ahead of its time. In many ways, it attempted to grapple with the social tensions of the day, but didn't have the tools or perhaps the courage to fully unpack them. As it stands, Hi Honey, I'm Home is a relic of a different time that managed to predict so many of the complex social issues we are still dealing with today, even if it didn't quite know what to do with them. Despite Hi Honey, I'm Home being a part of ABC's TGIF lineup, which was a cultural juggernaut in the 80s and 90s, the actors of the show weren't compensated accordingly. The reason for this was the show was produced by Nickelodeon, which at the time was still a relatively new player in the television landscape. Cable television was still in its infancy, and SAG, the Screen Actors Guild, didn't know how to properly navigate contracts and compensation structures for cable television shows yet.
Hey man, give me a high five.
Okay.
Follow me, kid.
A prime example of society's 30-year cycle repeating itself. Today, we're facing similar struggles with streaming services where actors, writers, cameramen are fighting to be fairly compensated for their work in an ever-evolving media landscape. The issues surrounding pay and residuals echo the challenges faced by the cast and crew of Hi Honey, I'm Home decades ago. Hi Honey, I'm Home is a piece of almost lost media. The only proof that the show ever existed are bootleg copies made on VHS tapes and uploaded to YouTube by dedicated fans. It's ironic that people assume the concept of lost media is a thing of the past. We're told the internet is forever, but that's not exactly true. With enough money, power, and strategic copyright claims, anything can be scrubbed from existence. In recent years, streaming services have been purging entire libraries of content, leaving no physical trace behind.
I know what works for you TV people.
This is where the importance of physical media comes in. Physical media isn't just about nostalgia. It's about preservation. Without physical copies of film, TV shows, and other creative works, we risk losing parts of our cultural history. This issue brings up a larger question. What kind of legacy will we leave behind? We're living through the most documented era in human history, and yet almost nothing is physical. In the future, will our legacy persist, or will it be erased by copyright claims, corporate purges, and technological obsolescence? All media, no matter how obscure or unappreciated, should be preserved for posterity. We don't always know in the present what will shape the future of society. Hi Honey, I'm Home is a perfect example of this. While it's not a perfect show, or even a particularly well-executed one, it remains an important piece of television history. It pushed boundaries in a way that has been criminally under-acknowledged. Without Hi Honey, I'm Home, we might not have had the space for groundbreaking series and films that explored similar tensions between nostalgia and progress.
Where did I come from?
Oh, our little Chucky is growing up. Lloyd?
Well, son, a long time ago, you were just a twinkle in the eye of a gifted young television writer.
It's a reminder that multiple things can be true at once. Something can be deeply flawed and still incredibly important. A misstep and ahead of its time. Because, my strange little onions, the world isn't always black and white. All right, I love you. Have a hug, a cookie, and a juice box. Mwah.
Special device that turns black and white into color. It's called a Turnerizer.
The Turnerizer was one of my favorite recurring jokes from that show. In the 80s, Ted Turner was turning all of the black and white movies into color. It didn't look good. I really encourage everyone to check out Hi Honey, I'm Home. Despite my criticisms, I still found it to be a deeply delightful viewing experience.